Welcome. First of all, welcome. This is Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, here to lead the conversation in important events and topics that are shaping today's society. Join the conversation and follow us wherever you get your audio podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch our video podcasts. Rate, review, like, comment, share. Share with your friends, share with your family, hell, even share with your enemies. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about something about my childhood that's now been lost. My sister is going to join me for a special segment because we're going to talk about Diddy. And then I'm going to talk about when planks go really, really wrong. That's enough of the intro. Let's get to the show. In the last episode, I talked about, those casual dining restaurants, the Ruby Tuesdays, the Applebee's, the Chili's, that were really popular in the 90s and kind of part of my adolescent years, something that I grew up with. Another thing that is another restaurant, casual dining restaurant, that is very, very important to me. Everybody that knows me will know this is Red Lobster. Now, why is Red Lobster so important to me? And why at the top did I say that I'm losing a piece of my childhood? Well, when I was growing up, me and my brother and sister, my mom and dad are growing up as well, right? Like I'm older than my mom and dad was when I was 10 years old, right? So when we were growing up, we were living in this little town in Virginia called Lynchburg, Virginia. And my parents didn't have a whole lot of money, right? They were climbing that social economic ladder, but we were still on the lower rung. But we, made a good home. And for special occasions, we would go to Red Lobster. It was always like a dinner thing. It was always like a birthday thing, right? Like birthdays, special celebrations, we're going to Red Lobster. And I love Red Lobster. Now, we live in DC. There are 1,000,001 better seafood restaurants around here. But my number one choice still is Red Lobster for various reasons. One, first and foremost, those cheddar biscuits. Like, come on, y'all. Seriously, let's talk about them cheddar biscuits. The cheddar biscuits are absolutely delicious. Don't let me get to talking about my favorite meal, the Admiral's Feast, where you get clams and shrimp and all types of stuff. You can add chicken tenders with it too. And then the lobster macaroni and cheese. Come on now. Sometimes in my adult life, I would go to Ruby Tuesday for happy hour. And I would sit at the bar and I would tell the bartender, hey, look, man, go ahead and keep bringing me out red wine and the baskets of the biscuits, like keep on bringing them. Keep on bringing them because that's what I'm going to consume today. I'm going to drink wine and eat these biscuits. And it's so much of a tradition that I still do Red Lobster for my birthday. Like every year, I don't go there anymore. But every year I will order and get Red Lobster delivered, the Admiral Feast with all the cheddar biscuits that I could consume. And, the lobster macaroni and cheese. The lobster mashed potatoes, excuse me. Or is it macaroni and cheese? How do I forget my favorite dish? I don't know. But I got some disheartening news. Red Lobster is filing for bankruptcy. So Red Lobster is filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The filing was voluntary and followed the closure of a dozen of their locations. This was the company's official statement. The company plans to use this bankruptcy proceedings to improve operations, simplify the business, reduce locations, and pursue a sale of most of its assets. Despite the bankruptcy filing, Red Lobster intends to keep its restaurants open and operating as usual during the Chapter 11 process. And the company is planning to sell its business to a new entity controlled by its lenders. So why is it filing for bankruptcy? Well, there were some financial challenges here. The company faced several financial challenges, including a high lease and labor costs. I'm going to get to the high lease later because I read something and there's conflicting reports. Even the conflicting reports are exactly how it happened, but the premise of this, I'm going to get to later as far as that high lease is concerned. Another one of their financial challenges, Ultimate endless shrimp deal became more popular than expected, leading to significant loss in the third quarter. Okay. All right. It's not funny. People are going to be losing their jobs. This company is closing down restaurants. This is not funny, but it is. Everybody knew good and damn well that unlimited, endless, ultimate shrimp, whatever you want to call it, was going to be a detriment to this company. Look, let me tell you something. I know how many popcorn shrimp I can eat in one sitting, and it's a lot. And if you tell me it's endless, and if I stay away from the majority of what I'm going to eat, the cheddar biscuits, if I stay away from them and I just focus on the shrimp, oh, I can kill about 60 to 90 of them popcorn shrimp with ease, right? I stay away from the fattening stuff, the filling stuff. If I stay away from the biscuits, I stay away from the French fries, I'm going to kill them shrimp. I'm gonna kill them shrimp. And you're gonna tell me that for whatever the price was, let's say it was $29.99, which I assume that they should have charged for that. $29.99, I get unlimited endless shrimp. No, eventually you're gonna have to cut some of those, cut some of those people off. So clearly they didn't think this plan out. They wanted to bring people in, but didn't realize people wasn't gonna leave. So they didn't ate Red Lobster out of a shrimping home. Damn it. That's corny, but it's not funny, but it so is. So the company considered filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy last month to restructure its debt. Here's the CEO's statement. The company CEO, Jonathan Tobias, stated that the restructuring is the best path forward for Red Lobster and allows the company to address several financial and operational challenges and emerge stronger and refocused on growth. I mean, people are going to lose their jobs, locations are going to be closed. They're going to be auctioning off equipment from these closed locations to try and keep some cash. But okay, I joked about the ultimate endless shrimp, and they said they did have losses in the third quarter. But even that alone is not going to make a company that's been in existence for 30, 40 years, right? If I'm 40 plus, and let's say 30, 40 years, that alone is not going to drive the company to bankruptcy. So, what would it be that would lead a company to bankruptcy? Does anybody know about Ray Kroc? He's basically the man that's considered the founder for McDonald's. It was actually two other brothers that actually founded McDonald's, and he stole the company. He stole McDonald's from them because he went into a business deal with them. He partnered with them. And he said, yo, y'all got this great idea for McDonald's. I want to expand this. And they was like, all right, that's cool as long as you don't take away from the integrity of our operations, meaning that our food is of good quality and our service is of good quality. You can't ruin that. If you do that, you breach the agreement. Eventually, Ray breached the agreement because he saw that he wasn't able to make money because he couldn't change the menu. He couldn't change the way that they were operating. So he didn't like it. He came up with the idea to buy the land that McDonald's actually sits on. So that's how he gained control of McDonald's. He said, hey, y'all had the store, you had the operations, but I own the land. And now you have to do what I say, or you don't have a place to have McDonald's anymore. So how does that pertain to Red Lobster? Something very, very similar happened. And like I said, I've done some research, there's conflicting reports. This is I'm gonna give y'all the general basis of what happened to Red Lobster. So basically, a company came in and bought the land that Red Lobster had. Okay, the Red Lobsters are sitting on plots of land, right? They bought the land. Then they repackaged it and sold the land to an offsuit. They basically took their company and put it into two divisions. There's the restaurant side of the company, and then a real estate side of the company. And the restaurant side sold the land to this real estate side, and the real estate side raised the rent of Red Lobster. So when they were talking about operation costs, that's what they were talking about. They raised rent, and people out there in the world who are renting for housing, right? Who are renting for housing like me, seen some of this, or not even if you're renting, if you tried to buy a house within the last 3 years, a condo, a townhouse, if you tried to buy property within the last couple of years, you will see that there's been a little bit of trouble because you'll put in a bid. Let's say there's a condo for $400,000. And for those people who are listening in other parts of the world or other parts of the United States, and you say a condo is $400,000, and the DMV, the Washington D.C. area, yes, they, and not even a great condo, like a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. That's going to run you close to 450, and they can go upwards to 800,000, real easy. So, a lot of people were trying to buy properties. I know for a fact here in the DMV area, and they were being outbid by 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 100,000 over asking price in cash. It's because there were companies that were buying property, turning around, renting them out, raising the rents. And you see this across the board where the cost of living is just really high. And here in the Washington area, there is it's not landmarkish, but it's known. If anybody's ever been in the Washington, D.C. area, the Pentagon is actually in the state of Virginia. It's right across the D.C. line. And in this, it's right there where the Arlington Cemetery is. And Arlington is actually a city in Virginia, right? So when you go to the Arlington Cemetery, it's in the city of Arlington, Virginia. And in the city of Arlington, Virginia, there's two metro stops that a lot of people here in this area divide Arlington into is the metro stops. So two metro stops is Pentagon City Metro and Crystal City Metro. And it's gotten to the point now where people just say that they live in Pentagon City or Crystal City if you're from this area. Okay. In Crystal City, there's an underground that connects the metro to the hotels and a bunch of, in the underground, there were a bunch of restaurants and shops. And yeah, you had to really either be working or living in the area. It wasn't like people were venturing out of town to come to this underground shops area. But for people that are working, and there's a large number of people that work at jobs in Crystal City, Pentagon City, it was those businesses were thriving just because people go out to eat for lunch and dinner, and this area is very really really dense with people, so it was running things. The landlords of this Crystal City underground have decided that they're no longer going to be in the retail and restaurant business and didn't even raise the rents. They just said, hey, look, we're closing up shop and we're going to do something else. And there are businesses down there just like, wait a minute, what? Like, you're just going to kick us out without any notice or anything like that? And it's a bit more complicated. There has been some notice and people have been getting information, but landlords have control. And so we're living in this country where Lex Luthor said it in the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. Land is the most important thing, right? There have been wars literally fought over land. And the control of this land are going to businesses and conglomerates that are pushing out small business owners, but now multi-million, maybe billion dollar companies like Red Lobster. Now, maybe they didn't hit billion because people was killing killing Red Lobster with that ultimate endless shrimp. Y'all know I didn't even partake in that. I didn't even know that was a thing. I missed ultimate endless shrimp. But anyway, it's just interesting to me that thriving restaurants, despite that third quarter loss because of the ultimate endless shrimp, companies that have been thriving for decades, right? I've been going to Red Lobster since I was 8 or 9 years old, right? That's decades. That's 3 decades of my life. Okay. That is now out of business, and not solely out of business because people aren't going there anymore and the business is failing. No, the business is losing money because of greed. Good old American greed. Y'all remember Gordon Gekko, where he said greed is good? Yeah, that was a lie. And there's a whole generation of us that believe in that. There isn't a thing called trickle down economics. That didn't really exist, right? But there is a thing called trickle down debt. And that's what we're experiencing now in this country more than ever. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a special segment. We don't typically do this for the Tuesday show, but if you've been living under a rock and you don't know what's going on, a tape that surrounds Diddy and all of his shenanigans was released Friday, just as we released the Friday episode. So what happened? CNN, that great news organization, obtained a surveillance video showing Sean Diddy Combs, Puffy, P. Diddy, whatever you want to call him, allegedly, I don't know how it was allegedly, assaulting his former romantic partner, Cassie. The video, which was released last Friday, May 17th, 2024, shows Diddy violently grabbing, shoving, dragging, and kicking, and not a regular little kick. Like he kicked and his leg went up in the air. It was a follow through kick in a hotel in California back in 2016. This all happened in 2016, and it was released recently. The incident was reportedly part of some ongoing beef between Diddy and 50 Cent. I don't even know why that's important or how that pertains to the case, but it blew up social media. There's a lot of questions that have to be asked and answered, and my sister feels a way about it. And I want to give her the space and the opportunity to say what's on her mind and get everything off her chest. So, Jay, welcome to the Tuesday episode of Unsolicited Perspectives. It's not the sibling happy hour, but you
No.
my sibling. And this
Yes,
ain't a happy hour.
it
But
is
we're
not.
going to try to give people another perspective of what's going on. So I'm going to give you the floor, the mic, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So first, I wanted to offer my sincerest and deepest apologies to Cassie Ventura for what she went through. I can't imagine from age 19 being preyed upon, abused, trafficked, and having really no hope for escape. Because it is not only an influential man, a powerful man, a famous man, but a billionaire.
Yeah.
Which carries a lot of significance in the United States. I don't know how she eventually got away, but I am so glad she did because there are so many women who don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually not going to discuss the video because at this point, most people have seen it and there is a lot of discourse around it in recent days and from people who are much more articulate than me. But I do have a few points that I specifically wanted to address. But before I start that, for me, and everybody can do whatever they want, but for me, he is Sean Combs forever. Nicknames are reserved for people we have an affinity for, and he is not that. So I will only be referring to him as Sean Combs or just Combs. Like I'm not, he's not gonna be Diddy, Puff Daddy, Brother Love, any of that bull malarkey. Since we're on the Tuesday show, so I can't. Right. But my first point, which I think a lot of people also feel this way, is to hell with his apology. He can honestly take it and shove it up his ass.
Okay, so that's something I forgot to give the people out there. He did come out with an apology yesterday or Saturday.
Yeah.
In which,
I believe it was Sunday. I believe it was Sunday morning.
Sunday, okay. In which, he tried to explain his actions. You brought this up to me, and I had to rewatch it, and he never actually apologizes to Cassie.
No, he doesn't mention her name once.
No.
And him shooting this and posting it on Sunday is also intentional, right? Because he has And he does in his apology, but he has in the past, and he continues to weaponize religion,
Mhm. Okay.
right? Oh, I'm gonna pray to God, and I'm gonna, seek forgiveness for myself. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I'm gonna pray, and I have another point about that in a
Okay.
second, but
Okay.
for me, it was a non-apology directed at no one.
Mhm.
It was incredibly egotistical and narcissistic. If he was really contrite, he would have gone to rehab and sought therapy the first time he ever put his hands on anyone. This entire time, up until CNN exposed this video,
Mhm.
he has either directly or indirectly called Cassie Ventura a liar
Yeah, he has done that
and
several times.
someone who's just seeking a payday.
Yep, that's exactly what he said when the whole lawsuit originally came out.
So I don't buy it. He does not appear contrite at all. He didn't even reference her.
Mhm.
You were at a low point in your life. You hit rock bottom. No, you hit Cassie.
Mm.
That's what you did. So your apology, keep it. Because what are you even sorry for? That the video came out?
Yeah, that's what he's sorry for.
You're sorry that we saw it.
Yeah.
That's what you're sorry about. The second thing, protect and believe Black women. The statistics of intimate partner violence, sexual abuse, and murder among Black women in the United States is absolutely staggering. Black women in the US are 6 times more likely to be killed than white women, with interpartner violence being the key contributor to homicide in Black women.
And let's be clear. What we're saying is listen to all women,
Yes,
but there is an overwhelming statistic that shows Black women are not being heard and
correct.
being hurt at a longer, not longer, more frequency
Yeah.
than any other demographic.
Black women also experience significantly higher rates of psychological abuse, things like humiliation, insults, name calling. These are prevalent in the music of the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah.
All you had to do is read the lyrics to know how we were viewed by these kinds of men at that time, and probably and definitely still today. And things like coercive control, which is what Cassie Ventura experienced.
Mm.
And their experience these rates of psychological abuse at higher rates than women overall. Not broken down by race. I mean women overall.
Mm.
Black women experience this. In the US, Black women who experience interpartner violence or sexual violence are 3 times more likely to experience abuse or a neglectful response from law enforcement when they report it.
Mm.
So a lot of times people are like, why didn't you go to the police? Well, the response isn't always helpful, right? Why didn't you leave? She tried. That's exactly what you were witnessing,
Hmm.
was a woman trying to escape a situation and could not.
She literally waited until he fell asleep and exited the room.
Hmm.
He woke up, chased after her, and did that.
Yes.
That's what happened.
Yes. So it's not as and why are people just waiting till now to step forward? You don't know how much therapy she had to probably go through just to work up the courage to say it out loud what happened to her. You don't know what she went through behind the scenes. None of us do. You make the report when you can,
Hmm.
when you're able. You don't get to decide for the victim how and when they come forward and in what capacity. Most of the things that happened to her, the statute of limitations had expired. She had no choice but to file a civil suit. Him settling it within 24 hours in order to avoid the discovery period where she would enter in evidence, and then proceeding to go on this little social media tour about how it's just people looking for money and they're lying, and he didn't do anything that she accused him of, which we all know. I mean, I feel like we knew at the time was a lie, and now we definitely know was a lie.
Now we definitely know was a
Yeah,
lie. Now we have clear, concrete video evidence to prove that he was lying.
right. And anybody who thinks it was some sort of deep fake video, the man came out and said it was him.
Yeah, he did. He said it was him.
So my third point is in response to Black people who engage in toxic Christianity.
Okay. I wasn't expecting this one. All right, here we go.
They allow people in power to weaponize religion and weaponize God for protection and to be absolved.
Mm.
I am honestly disgusted by the number of Black women supporting Combs. You know, Kelly Price made a post blaming the seductions of the industry and calling him a unique talent and imploring him to pray. He already started that rebirth or redemption tour before all of this even broke, when he was making connections with people like TD Jakes, and he changed his name to Brother Love and things like that. Y'all in these comments talking about I forgive him or we can't judge, only God can judge. First of all, it's not your apology to accept.
Mm.
It's Cassie Ventura's apology to accept. It's
And
all of his victims' apology to accept or not accept. You cannot absolve him. We need to start holding people in our community accountable, regardless of their power, fame, influence, how many bops they got. Are y'all for real? You could be anything in the world, and I'm asking you to be for real. Because that same mercy is never extended to Black women. Y'all will judge a Black woman publicly to the ends of the earth. Oh, well, she shouldn't have been doing this. Well, she did that. Was she lying? She this, she that. That same mercy that you give him, you never extend it to Black women. God don't have God don't have nothing to do with him. That's not this. I don't know what God y'all serve, but mine doesn't protect abusers. He heals and cares for the victim. Our grace should go to them, should go to Cassie Ventura. That's where our grace should go. And the last thing I'm going to say on this is we need to start interrogating our support of anybody who has been in support of him, especially for any extended period of time. I'm talking about all your faves. I'm talking about all of your faves, because what you need to ask yourself is my entertainment worth more than someone else's dignity and safety? It's not, is the answer to that.
Jay, I hear everything that you're saying,
It's
and you are right. I agree with 99.9% of it. However, Diddy is the soundtrack, Sean Combs is the soundtrack to the 90s. You would have to almost eliminate all R&B and hip hop from the 90s because his tentacles are on everything.
And you know what? You know what the great thing about music is?
What's
It's
that?
not going anywhere. The 90s was 30 years ago. When the
Mhm.
last time you listened to Bad Boy anything?
I listen to Biggie at least once a week.
We got to wonder why he's gone.
Uh, Look, we're not going to get into no
We're not.
Jaguar right conspiracy
Let me tell
theories.
you something about Jaguar Wright and her conspiracy theories. She's been saying this for years, and she is being proven correct.
Yeah, but she also got some crazy conspiracy theories. Look, I have a friend. Educated,
Mm-hmm.
professor,
Mm-hmm.
educator. I asked him to come on the show, and he said, "Nah, you ain't gonna get me canceled," because I saw him today this morning, and I was like, "We still bad boy for life." And he was like, we're gonna have to figure out something. Maybe he could sell his whole catalog to a women's shelter so that he can't make any more money from it, but that all the money that is made from it is going to domestic abuse survivors or something like that, so that we can still listen to music. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm going to have a really hard time cutting anything bad boy out of my life. That's Jodeci, that's Mary J. Blige, that's Biggie, that's Craig Mack, that's it's almost everything, right? Because he's got remixes on everything. And I was like, what's next? What's next? Right?
Whatever needs to be next. We need to start, I'm going to say it again, interrogating our support of anybody who has been in support of him for any extended period of time. The reason he's been able to get away with this for so long is because of who he is,
Yes, this is true.
because of his reach,
Hmm.
because of his influence, because of the people he knows who stay silent for him. There are no innocent bystanders here. I can understand, I tried to read some of Cassie Ventura's complaint. I could not get through all of it. I found it incredibly triggering. But she was being abused in front of staff.
Mm.
Now, I can understand being staff, and it's your job, it's your livelihood. And who are you to go up against a billionaire who hangs out, who's been seen with literally everyone
Yeah.
of any kind of importance,
Hmm.
who has unlimited resources? I can understand that. I can't understand his peers
Mm.
not saying anything.
Well, how many peers does he really have?
I can think of one in particular
Oh, don't you
who I
don't.
have who I've had a problem with since his dealings with R. Kelly.
Okay, I knew you was gonna go there. Look, we're not taking away his catalog. Bad Boy is one thing. We're not taking away Jay-Z. Because if you take away Jay-Z, that means you gotta take Beyonce away too.
You might have to.
No, where does it end? Where does
It
it end?
it
Why
ends
can't
when
I?
people can live in safety and peace. That's when it ends. And yes, you're gonna have to be uncomfortable. Yes, you're gonna have to give stuff up. But my entertainment is not more important than somebody else's life.
You are absolutely right. Like, I'm not arguing that. I'm not even arguing your point. Selfishly and hypocritically, because I'm often accusing other people of doing the same thing that I'm doing, I don't want to lose my fun.
None of these people wanted to lose their fun, and so they allowed this to continue.
You're
People
right.
have been voluntarily silent in exchange for benefits, proximity to power, and money and fame. People have been voluntarily silent. His peers who allegedly have engaged in a lot of this activity with him, or who at least knew about it, did absolutely nothing and continue. Not only did they do nothing, at least you could distance yourself from him.
A lot of people did. A lot of people have distanced themselves from.
Now,
No, even before now, the person that you were going to talk about, Jay-Z, has long since distanced himself from Puffy,
I still see them.
and he distanced himself from R. Kelly as well when all that stuff like dropped.
No, because Dame was with Aaliyah
Aaliyah,
before Best of Both Worlds. He
I'm talking
knew
about the videotape. Once the videotape hit, he was done with R. Kelly.
he are yeah, because now there's physical evidence out there that he
Right.
can't refute.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's what everybody waits for.
as long as it remains rumor, even if he knows that it's the truth because he's friends with the woman it happened to.
But that's about believing black women. That's originally, it was one of your original points, right? Like maybe he
Yeah.
just didn't believe what she was saying.
Oh, he believed her. He didn't care.
I mean, that
I said protect and believe black women. There's
yes.
two parts to it.
Yeah, yeah,
You believe them and you protect them.
yeah.
That's what's not happening. There are plenty of people who believe us.
Okay.
When you talk about predators in the community, in your family, all of this stuff, when you talk about that, there's people, oh, they believe you,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not protecting you.
Yeah, you're right. What is the thing that used to be said in the black community when we were younger? We actually didn't live in any of these neighborhoods, but they would be like, stay away from Mr. Fred.
Yeah.
Because you knew Mr. Fred like wasn't cool
Right.
and was more than likely a pedophile. Instead of
Right.
pressing and getting them charged and getting them sent to prison, we just like stay away from Mr. Fred, and Mr. Fred
Yeah.
would end up hurting kids.
Or stay away from Uncle so and so.
That's another one. So I'm so glad that you touched on, and I hope they're listening. Why? Like the questions that a lot of men had was like, why didn't she just say something earlier? Or she went for the money grab. She should have just pushed some charges. A whole bunch of people got hurt in between this and when the first things happened with her. And I just didn't even want to entertain those conversations with those gentlemen because I was like, wow, that's a really male perspective of looking at things.
Right.
That's a really privileged way of looking at something, not understanding power dynamics, and not understanding how much power, this isn't typical power dynamics.
No.
This is somebody who is known throughout the world, who at that time was a multimillionaire, who later became a billionaire and has power and influence. And also, how do you know that she didn't already do it and it didn't get quashed? Because what's funny is, to me, this whole incident with the video happened 8 years ago.
Yes.
Somebody's
2016.
CNN doesn't pay for video. Somebody went to CNN and said, I have video of this incident.
Yes.
And they waited because everything with Sean Combs came out, what, last year, right?
Yeah. So the speculation is that if it wasn't
we're speculating, ladies and gentlemen.
The speculation is that it came out of the raid in his home.
Okay.
Because in Cassie Ventura's complaint, she first of all described the incident exactly as it occurred in the video.
Mm-hmm.
And she stated he paid $50,000 to security to secure the tape.
Mm.
So if he kept it,
why would he keep it? Why wouldn't he destroy it?
So allegedly,
mm-hmm.
he likes to document these encounters.
Huh.
He likes to videotape these encounters. What you'll find a lot of times with predators, they keep trophies as souvenirs.
I mean, I've seen that, because I watch a lot of Criminal Minds, and they talk about that with serial killers.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that. Well, I don't know that he's not a serial killer. I don't know that he is. Speculation, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Reckless speculation. But I never thought of that as abusers keep trophies.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of times the trophy is the abused.
Yeah, and I guess when the abused is gone, you need something. Wow. Mm. Well,
to remember. So again, if you were contrite, why do you need this reminder? Why didn't you destroy it?
Well, we know that he wasn't contrite because this came up all of a sudden because the video got released.
Yeah.
And because he said that she was lying and it was a money grab. So he
could have said nothing. He could have settled that case and said nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But he made a point to directly or indirectly accuse her of being a liar.
Because for most people in power, for most men in power before 2016, they got away with all this stuff.
Yeah.
For those men out there who is saying, well, the Me Too movement has gone too far, shut up. Because this is another example of the Me Too movement helping expose somebody
Mm-hmm.
that needed to be exposed. But on the same token, I'm not giving him my bad boy music. Now I
That's
stole most of the music anyway, so he ain't making no money off of me.
that's between you and God. Like that ain't got nothing to do with me. But I'm just telling you what my position is. And again, when I'm talking about the response from the Black Christian community, I'm talking about toxic Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about the Christianity you and I practice, right? Of love and respect and helping your neighbor and things like that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about this toxic stuff.
The same thing that we attacked white Christian nationalists of, that toxic Christianity. Guess what? We attack black people as well.
Yeah.
We are not just attacking white folks out here. Us black folks just as toxic when it comes to Christianity.
And
Just may in some cases, sometimes even worse.
and y'all can be mad at me. I don't give a damn because this is the truth. You guys have been hiding behind your definition of God and your definition of what forgiveness is and who is entitled to it
Mm-hmm.
to protect powerful men from doing god awful things. How many times have people in the church been exposed for doing awful or illegal things?
The pastors.
The
We talking about the top of the church, the
pastors.
pastors.
And y'all still are attempting to absolve this man as if you A, have the power to do so, you don't. And B, it's never across the board. Again, like I said, the same mercy is never extended to Black women. You'll never see them rallying around an embattled Black woman. You don't see it.
Unless it was Michelle Obama.
I think Black people in general will rally around Michelle Obama,
I
depending on
mean,
what it is. I
black
mean,
people in W
well, we all know W love him some Michelle.
love
That
him,
is
Michelle.
that is true.
And
But
Beyonce, everybody and
there's some
a few. There's a few.
there's
But
some stories out there about her being very upset witnessing things.
mm,
And there is a story out there that I don't know if it was him being abusive towards Cassie. I believe it was. This, of course, is speculation. I don't know if this is true, but she witnessed the abuse and demanded that he apologize. I mean, went up one side of him and down the other. And the report is he got on his knees and apologized,
no, well,
but proceeded to then continue to abuse her for years. So not just her, and mind you, hers is not the only story out there. It's not just her. I believe there's 4 lawsuits
yeah. Yeah, multiple lawsuits. Yeah.
of men and women that he has
Mm-hmm.
victimized, that he has used his power and influence to coerce people into doing things they would not normally want to do.
Yeah. Well,
I don't care about that man's sexuality. I really don't. That has nothing to do. What happens between consenting adults don't have nothing to do with us. As long as he's not hurting nobody or hurting himself, that I don't care. I'm talking about him hurting people,
yeah.
using and abusing people. And there are people who I want to hear from. I
Mm.
wonder what stories Lil' Kim has, or Mary J. Blige, or Faith Evans.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I would love to know the story that Kim Porter has. She's been there since Uptown Records, but she gone.
Yeah.
Can't ask Heavy D, he's gone. Can't ask Andre Harrell, he's gone.
Mm. They
I'll
all
Be
gone.
Sure almost died.
Yeah.
Make of that what you will.
Oh
But
Lord.
my
Okay. All right, Jaguar Wright Jr. let's
but
let's
but
let's wrap this up because now you're starting to throw
but at
some real reckless speculation out there.
the but at the end of the day, somebody said to me in the DMs, but it's not like people don't, women don't be lying. Okay.
Jesus.
Let me Let me just say this. There are two possibilities, right? When you hear a woman tell her story of being abused, you can believe her or you cannot believe her.
Hmm.
If she is lying and I believed her, then I'm just wrong. But if she was telling the truth and I didn't believe her, that could be her life.
Mm.
There's more women dying than lying, period. 99.9 times out of 10, when a woman reports, and this is any woman, when a woman reports abuse, she's not lying. She just doesn't have the benefit of HD surveillance footage.
Yeah.
All she has is her word. But that's the same on the other side. All they got is their word. Believe people until you have a reason not to.
Mm.
But I would rather believe someone and be wrong than not believe them and they lose their life. That's all I have to say about that.
And all I got to say is message. All right, I want to thank my sister for coming on, talking about Diddy for a special segment. We had to get that to you guys before the sibling happy hour. It was just going to be too long of a wait to get that information out there, and she had a lot to say. She had a lot to say, and I don't disagree with the majority of what she said. I really don't, and it's really something that we need to really look into ourselves and say, I've done this argument before. What is the cost of art, and what are we willing to pay for it to enjoy it? All right, and in that same vein, art, right? There have been prank shows like Punked, and I don't know, I can't think of any other prank shows at the top of my head because Punked was just so really good. But I'm sure like Jackass did punked stuff or pranks. They did do prank stuff. There's always been prank shows, right? And social media has given a platform for people to show planks that they would not planks. Planks is an exercise. Pranks that they would do to people and send it to us out in the internet, send it out on the internet and give it to us for our own enjoyment. Some of the pranks are funny. As long as nobody is getting hurt, or if the person that's doing the prank gets hurt because it gets bodily harm, but that's part of the gag. Okay, that's fine. No, the main thing is whoever you're pranking, they shouldn't really get hurt. It's all supposed to be good fun and games and jokes. But what happens when pranks go wrong? There's a growing trend on Instagram and TikTok of a prank of one half of a couple pretending they're doing a sexual act with someone else as the other half of the couple walks into the house. So let's give an example. The most recent one I saw today that makes me want to talk about this is a woman has her camera set up and she puts her head underneath the covers with like a dummy. It looks like a person, but it's not a person. And she pretends that she's given fellatio as her boyfriend gets ready to walk into their house. As he walks into the house and he sees this, his instant reaction is to throw the 48-pack water bottle at her and hits her in the back. Now, violence against women, as we just talked about in the other segment, is not funny. That is not funny. Okay. So I'm not making light to that. I'm kind of making light to his reaction afterwards when he found out it was a prank. And he was like, your back all right? No, her back was not all right. You just threw a 48-pack of water and it crashed on her back. But it got me to thinking. And I love to be introspective and think about how I would respond to certain situations. And I've may or may not have told a story on this show of that evil girl that cheated on me and I caught her cheating. I'll say that for the after hours. If y'all haven't heard that story, y'all can hear it on the after hours or talking straight ish. I'm not going to tell that story right now. But I caught my girlfriend at the time, I was in college, cheating on me. My initial reaction was I fainted out of shock and hurt and pain. Then I immediately woke up and proceeded to whoop that dude's ass. And the whole time that I'm beating him down, I'm saying to him, somebody has to feel my pain. I can't hit her. And that was a real situation. And I remember the initial reaction my body gave was to faint because it's an overwhelming emotional thing to see a person that you care about with somebody else. And so that made me think of these pranks and the initial feeling. Should have turned that off. My bad, ladies and gentlemen. And the initial feeling that people get when they're cheated on. And there are people out here that listen to this episode probably getting cheated on right now. Probably found out today that they were cheated on. Right? It's heart wrenching. Most people in the world have experienced that. Okay. It's not a fun experience. It's not something I recommend to anybody. And to think that you would play a prank on somebody that you care about and give them that feeling. You know what's extra evil is if you play that type of prank on somebody when you or yourself have been cheated on and you know what that feeling is like. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's an emotional experience that people really shouldn't have to go through. And I know people are going to be like, Bruce, it's just a joke. It's not that serious. You always got to make a mountain out of a molehill. And I'm like, yeah, okay, y'all might be right. Sometimes I do make things bigger, but I like to look at the big picture. I'm not a, I am at times when it's important, micro thinker, but by and large, I'm a macro. That means I like to look at the bigger picture and see how everything is affected, even if the initial instance is small. And that would be serious trust issues for me. And I have serious trust issues anyway. Do they stem back from that girl that cheated on me? Yes. Did I get over it? Oh yeah, that was like over 20 years ago. So I've absolutely gotten over it. But it broke my heart for a long time. And the girl that I dated afterwards, I'm sure she's not listening to the show. But if she is, you know who you are. I'm sorry. Because you faced hell for 3 years. She was in hell. Now, to defend myself just a tad bit, she was also toxic as hell too. It was just a toxic 3 year relationship. It was just bad. But anyway, like the pranks, sometimes these pranks are going too far, right? So, like, there's a prank that I saw. The guy was interviewing people in the street and he said, hey, I'll give you $100 to call your parents right now and tell them that you're pregnant or that you got a baby on the way. And that in and of itself is not a bad thing. That could be a joyous thing given the right circumstances. It could also be not so much of a joyous thing given the wrong circumstances. And to call your parents, you don't look, our parents are old, right? Like if you're in college, your parents are they're up there in age. And let me tell you, as a man that is slowly entering in his mid 40s, heart issues, blood pressure, all that stuff is important. And extra added stress is not needed, right? That is not a thing that should be put on somebody, a man or woman, as they get older. So calling your parents and saying, hey, mom, hey, dad, sorry, I'm pregnant. So I might have to drop out of school and come home. I mean, your parents are going to ride for you, but also they're like, what the hell? Like, I didn't send you to school to do something to make a careless mistake. I won't say mistake. Kids, my parents did that. So I'm not a mistake. So I'm not going to say mistake. Just say accident or happy accident. Let's go with happy accident. So yeah, some of these pranks have gone too far. And for these people that are pranking out there, pay attention to the prank. Pay attention to what you're doing or what emotional harm you could cause to somebody for laughter. I remember playing the dozens of cracking jokes. Cracking, joning is what we call it in DC. Cracking is what we call it in Virginia. That's just joking on each other. You get at the lunch table and everybody's joking on each other. I'm not quick witted in that sense. I'm not quick at coming up with something funny to be derogatory to somebody else. I can be funny, but not when it's like joking on somebody else. Like I don't have that ability. So my dad always taught me to go for the jugular. Like to say the one thing that everybody is avoiding saying because it's just too mean. And that'll stop the joking. And I always did. My one boy that's still a friend of mine from high school said, you always said the thing that nobody else was willing to say that wasn't cool. And I was like, what wasn't cool is everybody having this quick wit to come up with all these jokes on me and me not being able to fight back because I didn't have that ability. So in order to get you guys to stop, I would say the most hurtful thing. And in retrospect, that was stupid. Like, why would I say there's a reason why people don't say the most hurtful thing. There's a reason why, like, after a certain age, we stop calling the stinky boy in school stinky. Like, at a certain age, like, there's something going on and he don't have no control over that. It could be a bodily thing. It could be maybe he's poor. He don't have the running water that they need. I didn't find out until I was in my 30s of how people from lower income areas, women specifically, will go to like donation places like food banks. You can also get like cleaning, like things to clean your body, like soap, deodorant, and things like that. Something that I never thought of is that a lot of these women that are in these poor economic situations, can't afford like pads and tampons and things of that nature. And I remember in high school, there was this girl and she reeked of that smell, right? Like wasn't taking care of herself down there. And she didn't like she lived in a poor area and nobody ever joked on her about it. We talked about it behind her back because she was also a giant of a woman. And like most guys thought that they could probably beat her, but we didn't want that fight because one, you don't fight a woman regardless. And two, she could probably kick your ass regardless if you was trying to fight her. So nobody said anything to her, but she would smell. And people shouldn't say that thing that people don't say to other people because it's so mean. There's a reason why. And as I got older, and I once again, this is looking at the macro, not micro, looking at the macro. As that example came to my attention of just not being able to afford feminine products, that's probably the reason why she smelled. It wasn't because she wanted to smell like that. Or maybe, the water would get shut off sometimes. Or, maybe the electricity would get shut off and she wouldn't be able to take a hot shower. Or who wants to take a cold shower? And so I learned to be a little bit more sensitive to people. And very much like the first segment where I started off at Red Lobster and I brought it around that it's such a bigger issue of, America and capitalism, I'm going to bring it around to another bigger issue: bullying and being considerate of others. This is a running theme on this podcast of being considerate of others. And I'm no hypocrite. There are times where I am mean, and I try not to be mean. I'm mean to the commenters on YouTube and Instagram. I am. I call a lot of people dumb, but don't put yourself out there with an ignorant statement. I won't call you dumb. But a lot of times people are not sympathetic and empathetic to another person's plight. And going back to the prank, somebody like me, I would leave the woman if she did that to me. Because more than likely, I told her the story of catching my ex-girlfriend and how that affected me. And if she did that prank, I keep saying plank, it's a prank. PR, Bruce, PR, not PL. And if she still did that prank, knowing that how I felt when that happened to me in real life and how that affected me then, knowing that feeling and still doing that prank anyway, I mean, she really didn't give a damn about me. Because ain't nothing funny, nothing at all funny about another person's pain. I wish I had something, punchier to make you laugh at this last little bit. But I already did my bit about the ultimate endless shrimp. And I already did my bit on, me talking about oh funky girl. I never called her that though. It was a bad smell. It was bad. And all my people that went to high school that might be listening and watching the show, everybody know who I'm talking about. I hope she don't know who we're talking about. But I bet things have changed. I hope things have changed. Please, God. I hope things have changed. Anyway, on that note, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for watching. And until next time, as always, I'll holla. Whew. That was a hell of a show. Thank you for rocking with us here on Unsolicited Perspectives with Bruce Anthony. Now, before you go, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share our podcast wherever you're listening or watching it to it. Pass it along to your friends. If you enjoy it, that means the people that you rock with will enjoy it also. So share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the noise. And for all those people that say, well, I don't have a YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can actually watch our video podcast. But the real party is on our Patreon page, After Hours Uncensored and Talking Straight-ish. After Hours Uncensored is another show with my sister. And once again, the key word there is uncensored. Those are exclusively on our Patreon page. Jump onto our website at unsolicitedperspectives.com for all things us. That's where you can get all of our audio, video, our blogs, and even buy our merch. And if you're really feeling genuine and want to help us out, you can donate on our donations page. Donations go strictly to improving our software and hardware so we can keep giving you guys good content that you can clearly listen to and that you can clearly see. So any donation would be appreciative. Most importantly, I want to say thank you for listening and watching and supporting us. And I'll catch you next time. Audi 5000. Peace.